The French Revolution, the birth of modern democracy. In 1789, the people of France did something that had never been done before in human history. They looked at their king, the most powerful monarch in Europe, and said, "You do not rule us, we rule ourselves." What followed was the most dramatic, most violent, most consequential political transformation in human history. The French Revolution gave us democracy, human rights, and the modern nation-state. It also gave us the guillotine, the Reign of Terror, and Napoleon Bonaparte. This is the story of how the most noble ideals can produce the most horrifying consequences. The world before the revolution. To understand the French Revolution, you have to understand just how broken France was in 1788. France was divided into three estates. The first estate, the clergy, owned 10% of all land and paid almost no taxes. The second estate, the nobility, owned 25% of all land and paid almost no taxes. The third estate, everyone else to 98% of the population, owned almost nothing and paid almost all the taxes. And in 1788, France experienced the worst harvest in living memory. Bread, the staple food of ordinary French people, became unaffordable. People were literally starving in the streets of Paris. Meanwhile, at the Palace of Versailles, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were living in a fantasy world of extraordinary luxury. The palace had 700 rooms, 2,000 windows, and cost the equivalent of billions of dollars to maintain. When told that the people had no bread, Marie Antoinette reportedly said, "Let them eat cake." Whether she actually said it or not, it perfectly captured the absolute disconnect between the ruling class and the suffering people. The revolution begins. On July 14, 1789, a Paris mob stormed the Bastille, the royal prison that symbolized royal tyranny. They found only 7 prisoners inside, but the symbolic power was enormous. 3 weeks later, the National Assembly abolished feudalism in a single night. Nobles stood up one after another and voluntarily surrendered their privileges. By morning, the entire feudal system that had oppressed France for 1,000 years was gone. And on August 26, 1789, the National Assembly issued the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, one of the most important documents ever written. Liberty, equality, fraternity. The American Declaration of Independence had inspired the French, and now the French Declaration would inspire the entire world, from Latin America to Asia to Africa, for the next 200 years. The Reign of Terror. But then something went terribly wrong. A lawyer named Maximilien Robespierre, who had once argued against the death penalty, became the most powerful man in France. And he decided that the only way to save the revolution was to kill everyone who threatened it. The Reign of Terror lasted from September 1793 to July 1794. In those 10 months, approximately 17,000 people were officially executed, and another 40,000 died in prison or without trial. The guillotine, invented to be a more humane method of execution, became the symbol of the terror. It killed nobles and peasants alike. It killed priests and atheists. Eventually, it killed most of the revolutionaries themselves. King Louis XVI was executed on January 21, 1793. Marie Antoinette followed on October 16th. The crowd reportedly cheered. Europe was horrified. Robespierre himself was arrested and guillotined on July 28, 1794. The man who had sent thousands to their deaths met the same end. The revolution had consumed itself. Napoleon Rises. Out of the chaos of the revolution, a young Corsican military officer rose to fill the power vacuum. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte, and he would become the most consequential figure of the 19th century. Napoleon was a military genius without equal in modern history. In 10 years, he conquered most of Europe. He fought 60 major battles and lost only 7. But Napoleon also spread the ideals of the French Revolution across Europe, abolishing feudalism, establishing legal equality, and creating the Napoleonic Code, a legal system still used in France, Belgium, Quebec, and Louisiana today. Napoleon's final defeat came at Waterloo in 1815. He was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821. The most consequential military leader since Alexander the Great, ending his days alone on a tiny island in the South Atlantic. The legacy. The French Revolution changed everything. Before 1789, almost every country on earth was ruled by kings, emperors, or nobles who claimed divine right. After 1789, that idea was permanently damaged. The seed of democracy had been planted, and it could never be fully uprooted. The ideals of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity, inspired the Haitian Revolution, the Latin American independence movements, the American Civil War's abolitionist movement, the revolutions of 1848 across Europe, and eventually, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. Liberty, equality, fraternity, 3 words written in Paris in 1789 that are still reshaping the world today. The French Revolution showed us that the hunger for freedom, the desire to be treated with dignity, is not a Western idea or a European idea. It is a human idea. And no king, no emperor, no tyrant has ever been able to fully suppress it. Subscribe, because next week we go inside the story of the Industrial Revolution, the transformation that created the modern economy and changed how every human being on Earth